The country's budget gap widened to over half a trillion pesos in the first half of the year. That's as pandemic-related expenses soared amid a fall in tax collections. You can see on your screens here data from the Treasury Department show the fiscal deficit swelled by more than 10 times to 560.4 billion pesos. That's from the 42.6 billion peso gap recorded in the same period of 2019. Now, despite the surge, the gap is still lower than the government ceiling of 751 billion pesos. State spending from January to June jumped by over a quarter to 2.01 trillion pesos. That's from 1.59 trillion pesos 1 year ago, mainly due to the disbursement of cash aid to poor and low-income families. The spending fell short of the program 2.2 trillion peso target for the period. Meanwhile, revenues dropped 6% to 1.45 trillion pesos. Tax collections dropped nearly 12% to 1.21 trillion pesos, which was partially offset by a rise of 42% in income from non-tax sources, amounting to 237 billion pesos. Total revenues exceeded the target of 1.45 trillion pesos. But for the month of June alone, the fiscal gap swung to a surplus of 1.8 billion pesos. That's from a deficit of nearly 42 billion pesos last year. Security Bank Chief Economist Robert Dan Rosa said the surplus in June could just be temporary, as the government is expected to shell out more money to stimulate a battered economy. Now, for Union Bank's chief economist Carlos Asuncion, the widening of the gap would likely depend on the amount of the government stimulus package. He says government spending will be a key component for the economy's recovery, noting that infrastructure projects have to adjust accordingly to help keep the economy moving and eventually stay afloat.